Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. I'm just going to click this thingamy over there. I'm Abby Hagyard, and you are sharing time with me in episode 337. So 336, 6 and 7, so 4. So, it's a good number. Awesome number. All right. Before we begin, small sip of warm, soothing beverage. So, as March tap danced in, it's a friend of mine posted something that I can't say, but in like a lion, out like a lamb. This year, it came in like a, not wrong, not wrong. So the thing I want to talk about today is how things are contagious and how easily we lean into negativity, how we, without even realizing it, without even dealing with it, thinking about it, focusing on it. And the little tool weapon of mass construction that I want to talk about today is how we override the things that take us down, that pull us down. I was chatting with a client the other day who was frankly in tears on the phone, and the reason. Well, good morning, beauty. Good morning. How are you, Miss Susan? I was talking to somebody the other day, Susan, who was just having the hardest time and kept saying over and over, "I'm trying so hard to raise my vibration. I'm trying so hard." And I said, "Hun, you don't have to work at it. We are here. What we need to do is let go of the heavy crap that we don't realize we're carrying. As soon as you let go of the heavy thing, it's like a balloon that you untie from a weight that you put on a table. You have weddings and parties and you get helium-filled balloons and they're up there and you tie them to a weight and they stay on the table. Otherwise, So, okay, we carry all this stuff and reasonably, life is complicated. But that's the reason that our vibration, our energy, our positivity, our optimism is flagging, is exhausted, is down, is because we're hanging on to the heavy stuff. Let it go. Put it down. Put it down. See what happens. Ah. And so I went to an event the other night, and I saw people, and dressed for the cold, by the way, because let me tell you how cold it was. No, never mind. You go outside, you think, Jesus, it doesn't have to be this cold, does it? Get in the car, turn on the heat, And so people were all bundled and dressed, and their shoulders were still hunched against the cold, even though they'd left their vehicles, they'd left the bus shelter, they were in this warm building and milling around and getting ready to go in and sit down and have a lovely show. Some of them had gone for dinner first. We went for dinner first. And so, but why are you still like this? Because you haven't realized you're still like this. You're still carrying the defense against something. Ugh, right? But if you, oh yeah. And I saw that as the show was going on, it was a very, very talented classical guitarist and his group of very eclectic, world-wise, world-traveling musicians. And you could see that the music, one of the reasons that people came was not merely to listen to something that was brilliant and to watch somebody doing things that you think, good God, where do you even begin? But they needed that influence. They needed that wash over them to let that stuff go. And Susan, you do the same. You go to these events, and it is before the adrenaline rush of the contagious excitement of the crowd and the leaping up and down. What the anticipation of the music, of the experience is our release mechanism, is our taking our foot off the brake of letting go. You can't pick up something new if you don't let something old go. So investing in the concert, investing in going out, and how cool was it to go and see this event, is the voluntary thing we do in anticipation of the resulting and great. And how lucky are we that we can afford to do that? However, it is not simply for the people who can invest the money and the time to go someplace and be someplace where the influence, where the wave of excitement and music and dance and collected togetherness is. We can do it ourselves. We just have to learn how. Somebody has to show us how we make that happen. How do we know what those triggers are? So that's the topic today. And for the new people just joining me, just as a quick recap, once upon a time, a long time ago, somebody said, you should go and audition for something. And I said, does it pay money and is it legal? And they said, yes, to both. So I did. And the next thing I knew, I was mom and you can't do that on television. Imagine that surprise. I'm a what? There are how many? Fine. And then I became Care Bears, and then I became an evil troll in Teddy Ruxpin, and then I became all these things, and I saw a disturbing trend, and it was all about children. And I didn't understand how that had snuck by my radar, but there we were. So in the aftermath, in the lovely waves of nostalgia in all of that, is that what my work and I, thank you, represent to a lot of people is an innocent time, is a time when things were all terrible and all good, and not a lot of layers in between. And sometimes if we were latchkey kids and we came home and everybody else was gone because they were still working, we got ourselves sat down in front of television and we allowed it to babysit us. And one of the ways we got babysat was by watching shows like mine. And so to a certain extent, I am a surrogate mom for a lot of people. I am a Care Bear friend. So sorry about that. Should have warned you. And so it just thinking about or talking about or reaching out to discuss things with me can help a lot of people, because while we're all front and center in the present, for them more than me, simultaneously they're remembering what it was like to just sit and watch and be 10 or 12 years old or 6 or 8 years old. And now we're blending that past with this present. And it's very special for all of us. It certainly is very special for me when somebody says, this happened, this, the Brady Bunch. Yeah, all of that stuff. Batman? Darling, I am Batman. I taught Batman everything he knows. Does he call? Do I get cards on Mother's Day? No. Dark Knight, for heaven's sake. You should have seen his room. But I digress. What we need is a simple win. We need a simple access. We need a simple tool to use that we use because we have used it before and it has proven itself valuable. If we have the time, if we have the resources, if we have the people, and we can invest in a ticket to go someplace and be part of something that's taking place, great. But there are times when it's just the middle of the day, or it's the middle of the night, or it's the middle of a very, very, very long slog, and we're by ourselves. And it's a slog and a half to get to at least the corner where we can turn away from the wind and breathe. I have been there. I have been there a bunch of times. And the way we make it is by putting one foot in front of the other, keeping one eye on this immediate moment, mind the potholes, and the other eye on the immediate prize. How long do I have to drive in the dark? 10 more miles. Okay. Then I need to focus on these 10 more miles in the dark and not allow my mind to drift away, because I'm driving at a high rate of speed. And I want to, need to, got to reach the other side. When I get to the other side, I take a moment, I pull over, I give myself time. Shoulders back, breathe, whoa, unclench those fingers. That was a drive. Well done, you. Deep breath, put the car back in gear, and keep on keeping on till I reach the place I need to be. But that little tiny stopping moment, I didn't sit there grinning at jokes. I sat there thanking me and feeling that I was lucky because I was in a car that didn't stop, didn't stall. The heater was working, the fuel gauge was on full. And I was halfway to my goal. And when I reached my goal, I did the same in each incremental step. Why? Because you can't keep breathing out. You can't keep pushing. You have to breathe in. You have to rest the muscle before you start again. You can't go nonstop. You have to release, reset. It's physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you push too far this way, you get pushed that far that way. So we stage our efforts. What do we do at each break, at each stage? We give ourselves permission to find the trigger that brings us back to the small, happy sigh. When I sit back in the car after 10 grueling miles in the dark, and I put my shoulders back and I breathed, and I said, we did it. It was a very small fist bump because my arms were tired, my hands were tired, but it was a fist bump nonetheless. We did it. Good girl. We did it. And then the next one. And hearing those words, we did it. Good girl. That's a positive rush. That is an endorphin release that triggers that brain to say we're safe, send out the good hormones, send out the enriched blood because we took that breath and now we can get some fuel back in our veins. We have to do that for us. It's how we're built. The difference between just letting it happen or going in search of something that brings it is that when we make the decision, it's ours to own. We get to spike that ball because we chose it. It's ours. We earned it. And this later folder, good morning, Freddie. It's so good to see you. How are you doing? How are you doing these days? This later folder that I talk about, I showed it to a couple of people this week. And the first person I showed it to said, oh, you've talked about this before. And as I was explaining how I do it and what I do, she opened it. There's nothing in it. It's just a little folder. It's just a little folder. But I took out my pen. And I didn't hand it to her. But I said, so with this weapon of mass construction, she laughed, oh, Abby. And I said, no, but seriously, I said, there's your book. You write down, I broke my eyeliner pencil this morning. And she said, How did you know? And I said, I know, right? You snap it. Now you have to find the thing and you're late and it's put everything back. And we feel frustrated and we feel anxious because we lost control. We thought we had control. The eyeliner pencil said, not so fast. Watch this. And then all of a sudden, because an eyeliner pencil, we are out of control? Seriously? Okay. So I said, you write it down. You write down the other thing, then you're hopping around on one foot looking for your shoe because the dog took it, and you're doing all that stuff. You get to the end of that. You're ready to go out the door. No, hang on a second. Write those things down. Eyeliner pencil, this thing, dog, shoe. Draw a line under it. Draw a line under that. Say, later, I got stuff. And by saying later, and I usually pat the book. I usually pat the book because I'm giving it a hug, right? I pat the book and I say later because I have stuff to do. And you know what that does? That puts it away from here. And it puts it away from here and in here. It's here. And we don't have to think about it until when? Later. All right. I talk about this later folder concept all the time. I learned it 100 years ago. And after I learned it, I've taught it to every single person I've ever come in contact with. Mostly I began talking to actors about it. And what I was saying to the actors, which is a good metaphor, when people come to the theater, when they buy a ticket and they get off the couch and they put on pants and shoes and they get in the car and they drive into traffic and they find parking and they come in and they sit down on a hard seat and face the front. Do you know why they do that? Do you know why they do that? Because they want to see what it says on the program. Do you know what they don't want to see? The fact that you broke an eyeliner pencil this morning. The fact that your dog ate your homework and your shoe. That's not why they came. They came because they wanted to see what's written on the program. So why would you bring all of that personal stress, all of that stuff that has nothing to do with the character, the role, the function you have in this show for which they paid the ticket? Who said you get to bring your stuff and upstage the show? And you're not the only person in the show. There's 20 of you. Who said that 20 of you get to do your stuff and complain and grouse and mumble and groan and kvetch? I wouldn't buy a ticket to see that. I can stay home and do my own. So if you're going to be the actor and you've been hired to show up and bring your best skills to present, then leave the other stuff in the later folder and deal with it when, once again, you are alone. Makes sense, right? Makes huge sense. Because then you go out and he says, oh my gosh, I love this show. They're always so in it. They're in the moment. I mean, I believed everything they said. I love everything about this. I love this show. They're such good actors. They're so disciplined. I wish I could be like that. Well, you can. So, did that help? Yes. Does that change things? Yes. Do we feel like we're in control? Yes. What are we doing at the end of the day when we look at it and say, got it, did it? Oh, that one still has a bit of a trigger. Huh. Circle that. I'll think about it later and then go to bed. Has a bit of a trigger, you say? How interesting. How interesting. Trigger, you say. Is that like a hook? I was saying to somebody the other day, Vikings were really good at a lot of things. One of the things we were exceptional at that people don't really pay attention to is fishing. We were exceptionally good at fishing. You know the secret to great fishing? The hook. And I'm not talking about that one. I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about this one. So let's talk about positivity. Let's talk about finding the happy side. I promised I would show you how we do it. I promised I would show you how we can say, that is sad, that is tragic, that is toxic. Yes, I'm busy. I'll get back to it in a minute. It matters. Right now, I matter first. I don't matter more, I matter first. Why? Because I'm the one who has to deal with it. I'm the one who has to bring 110% because I choose. If I'm going to bring it, I have to be able to bring it. I have to divest myself of the garbage. And in that vacuum, I am now allowed, invited to fill it with positive, with, and how do we do that? We find the trigger. We find the hook. We find the thing that has always worked. The things that have always worked always will. They're called the unforgettables. And it's a group that I created, a name I attached in October, November, December, January, February, March, 5 months ago. Not quite 5 months. 10th of October. We're coming on to an anniversary. 5 months. The unforgettables are the things we hold close because they are fabulous. How do we find them? How do we find them without saying, I can't really afford to go, but I'm going to go because I need to cheer myself up? How do we find them without saying, I really feel down, if I could just buy myself a little something? If I just, a friend of mine said, this morning sent me things that, so that annoying person decided to quit on Valentine's Day. I replied, wow, great Valentine's Day gift. All I got was chocolate. Get the reply. It's verbal words, verbal symbols, which means, what is wrong with you? Good morning, Rhea. How wonderful to see you. Kim, the hook. Yes, yes. So Kim, by the way, I know I saw your message. I will get back to you. I've been tweaking the website, and I want to make sure you get a good page. Okay, so I am getting back to you. Okay, my Nana said, don't fix what's not broken. So, your Nana is a wise woman. So here's the deal. And Mr. Chris, how are we doing today? The most important thing is to stay in touch, with who we are and how we feel, to do a regular gut check, heart check, energy check, mental check. I don't mean all the time. I don't mean constantly wondering if I'm okay. What is that? How long has that been there? I don't mean that. But just listening every so often that the engine is revving on all cylinders. And how do we know? Well, when we take that moment, and we physically do that thing, we do the roll the shoulders back and the head just a little bit, and breathe. And if it feels a little stiff, okay, it feels a little stiff. That's a trigger. That's a hook saying, hey, service, please. I'm down a quart. And what can we do about it? What can we do about it if we're stressed about money, we're stressed about time, we're stressed about, we got to be here, we've made all these promises to do this and that and the other? How do we find the simple win? We use simple hacks. We use simple things. You know what is crazy simple about a Care Bear? And I'm not pushing Care Bears necessarily, but you know what is crazy simple is the expression on the bear's face. The clever genius who decided that, because humans are like that, we're constantly looking to see some sort of recognition to us. But that little expression, anytime I walk in the room and I see that little smile, I automatically mirror it. I automatically do. Why do I do that? Have I been programmed? Why do I do it? I do it because it's the way human beings learn. We learn by mirroring, we learn by imitating, we learn by watching somebody do it over and over and over again until we get good at it. It's how we learn everything. So if we find the hook we need that makes us go in response, and it's not that. It's a Care Bear smile. I'm mirroring the Care Bear. And while I'm doing that, you know what you can't do? This is a great exercise I used to do in acting class. You feel like an idiot. I said, okay, here's what we do. You feel like an idiot in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So you put your arms wide, 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 as wide as you can, right? Big, 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 big smile. Huge smile. Huge smile. Shoulders back. Eyebrows up, right? Big smile. Now say, that sucks. You feel like an idiot because all of this is telling you it's awesome. If you say, that's awesome, everything feels like it. Okay. So if you're saying, I'm not happy about this, here's another one. I'm having a wonderful time. Could we order another plate of that? That was fabulous. All you have to do to just snap yourself out of anything is go stand in front of a mirror and do that I just did. Do that. Watch yourself. You say, okay, here's it. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to go, sucks. Having a wonderful time. And then you're going to look in the mirror and you say, there's something wrong with that. Yeah, Gert. But I kind of like it. And then you know what? You feel better. So our secret weapon is the trigger mechanism. Our secret weapon is that the way we learn is by mirroring. We learn everything. You know, when somebody got glop off the plate into a spoon and brought it to our mouths and then went, and we thought, what's wrong with it? And eventually we realized that was for us. We gradually learned, and then we realized that that's how you eat, probably a little bit more, like this. But eventually over time we make it our own. But we learn by observing, we learn by imitating, we learn by repetition. People teach us how to walk downstairs. Left to our own devices, we fall down the stairs. People teach us how to tie our shoes so that we don't fall down the stairs. People teach us how to dress ourselves. And we practice and we get good at it. Some of us not as good as they should be. When you walk around and you look at and you say to people, did you have another outfit that you thought was less than that? Could we see that one? When you realize that we are, without paying attention, leaning toward the dominant energy, we are drawn to the dominant energy. Why? Well, that's survival. The dominant alpha in the pack is the one that's going to keep us safe from whatever that is. So it's how we're wired. It's how we're wired, but it doesn't mean we can't rewire it. And so when you look at people, and I'm going to give you an analogy without making it too, I hope, too annoyingly obvious. When you look at someone who walks into a room who is both loud, big, and confident, that's 3, loud, big, and confident. That feels like leadership, doesn't it? Loud, big, confident. We tend to gravitate toward that without really listening. This is pre-verbal, what we're doing. That feels like a safe space to be with whatever that is. Align ourselves with loud, big, and confident, because in a conflict, we automatically feel that loud, big, and confident has a better chance of winning than quiet, measured, and humble. The thing is, that in the days of saber-toothed whatnots, that was true. We live in much more complicated times. And one of the things that we learn as we grow in these complicated times is the power of strategic placement, of planning ahead, preemptive strike. Best defense, great offense. An offense doesn't have to be an attack. It can be a strategic concept. Famous philosopher on the art of war, Sun Tzu, one of his principles: he who is first on the field of battle can control the enemy. Why? Because you know where the potholes are. You're not going to trip and fall flat on your face in the middle of charge. Oops. If you are first on the field of battle, that can be a metaphor. If you already know what their weakness is because you got a glimpse of their playbook, you are first on the field of battle. We can't control the enemy because they don't know what we know. So big, loud, and confident is not always the winning hand to play. Bluster is a distraction tool. You can only bluster so long. Eventually, it's your turn. You're in the ring. It's your time to actually step up and take action and own the results. There's lots of people who bluster. You do this for me and I'm going to do that. Okay. Why don't you do that and show us what it's going to look like, and then we'll do this for you. We'd like to try before we buy, please. Rhetoric doesn't mean that they know how to act. It means they know how to bluster. Anybody who's in the public eye has to know how to talk a good show. It's kind of the entry level given. But what do you do when the show is now on and the curtain rises? Do you know how to pre-think the enemy? Do you know how to take action? When it's time to actually step in, do you know how to do that? Have you practiced that at all? Have you tripped and fallen and figured out why? On your time? No? I see. Okay, then. Let's do this, I hope. So these are the things that we're dealing with. This is a time when we have so many layers of ways to hear and see things. So many different platforms. Today, for instance, whatever platform you're seeing me on, I'm broadcasting from one through a hub that is distributing it to many hubs. This is to increase my reach so that more people see me. And we are all using this technology. The thing is that our emotional, primitive little brain isn't always ready for so much input, and we get overwhelmed. I used to just decide I want to rewrite what he was here, where I love a happy medium or a silent confidence, yes. I love Abby's lives. That's it, Rhea, thank you. Does anyone remember that the Ballad of Kid Shalene? And Shalene is found one morning very, very hungover, sitting on his horse, who is also very hungover, they're both leaning against a wall. And this fellow comes up and says, "Oh God, kid, you should see your eyes." And Shalene says, "You should see them from my side." Not that I've been in the hungover thing, but my lives, fascinating. Yeah, fascinating from out there. In here, it's a little bit more of a flaming chainsaw thing. So what we can do for ourselves, what we should do for ourselves, what we must do for our peace of mind is remember that we have permission to smile. We have permission to see something that just automatically, without any effort at all, without any conscious thinking, triggers a happy sigh. Something that just makes us go, hello, hello, hello. The minute we do that, whether you can do voices or not, inside your head you can do a voice. I just happen to be able to do that. You know, I've occasionally answered the phone that way before video stuff. Hello. And then I've waited for the Why am I doing that? I don't know, because I can, I suppose, just to see what happens. The object of my positivity, the object of my pursuit of, find the pony in here. If there's, I'm up to my neck this high in it, there's got to be a pony. I want to see the pony. I didn't need to put on my good clothes, get in the car, drive to find parking in an underground rabbit warren, loosely called the parking garage, go inside, find a seat, eat my meal, get up again, go and find my other seat, and sit for 2 hours in order to feel joy. I didn't need to do any of that. I didn't need to invest any of that to achieve the outcome. I have joy on speed dial. I can do it anywhere. I know the triggers that work for me. I know the simple physical, because no matter how inconvenienced we are, no matter what kind of stiffness or difficulty we all have the ability to move something and relax something, even if we handle chronic pain. The act of finding a way to take a slow, easy, deep breath and let it out and think of something that we have always recognized as a trigger, as a happy, positive trigger, and give ourselves permission to think of it again. If I write down silly small voice to startled strangers, I can immediately remember 40 or 50 times that has worked. Whether they cheer up or not, in that moment, it's not really about them for me. It's about me. I'm cheering me up. Usually it works. Usually it works. Strangers have no idea. They get on an elevator with me. I don't engage them in stuff. It's not the elevator pitch. I'm talking to them or their dog. We have a gym in our building. And so the other day when it was equally minus everything, I got on the elevator and a few floors later, a girl got on wearing shorts and a tank top and sneakers. And I said, young lady, if you're not going to the gym downstairs, I'm going to have a word with you because I'm dressed like Nanook. And she went, oh yeah, no, I have fitness. Good. Just saying, does your mother know you're dressing like that? Now, she left the elevator. She was looking forward to doing her workout, or she was, doing her workout, but she left the elevator laughing. There. Am I a giver? No. I'm triggering her laugh, so the laugh washes over me, so I'm having a great day. I'm creating the connection. I'm creating the part that's contagious, that helps as an offset against the parts that are contagious, that hinder, that hurt. So the thing I was saying when I started off, bye, sweetie, talk to you later. Every single thing that we do, we can see how to cope with if we have the time, if we have practiced, if we understand how good it feels. And I don't mean, oh, I know I should eat more greens. I don't mean that. I mean the simple one, the easy fix. If you don't have a stuffed animal, if the budget's tight and you're not able to buy a stuffed animal, get something to write with, get a weapon of mass construction, get a piece of paper, get a piece of anything, draw a half circle on it and 2 dots. There's your smile. There's my happy hook. Don't call yourself a happy hooker. I just realized. Don't do that. Although, what we can do, what we must do, is understand that we have the ability to mirror anything that's in front of us. It's how we learn, it's how we grow, it's how we survive. When we learn to mirror intelligence, when we learn to mirror the ability to shift from personal to big picture and see the difference and understand it better, then we shift from cope, from survive, to thrive. And we deserve that. We deserve the first. We really deserve the last. We deserve to thrive. We deserve to say, I'm walking here. I'm walking here. And like it. I did not enjoy driving in those dark hours on the highway. What I was proud of was that I was doing it because I cared and I had made a promise. And that I was able to fulfill that promise. That I was able to show without talk that when I said I cared and I will be here, I could be counted on. That made me feel very good because that person needed to know there were things to count on. And I was one of them. And that made me feel amazing. So when I finished driving in the dark and I stopped the car and I thought, okay, all right, step 2. I wasn't saying hello. Sometimes I did when I walked into the hospital, just to see the look on people's faces. Because it is how we thrive, by owning what we choose. If we have survived past the age of 5, we have experienced loss. We have experienced disappointment. We have experienced pain. We have experienced fear. We have understood and felt what it means to worry. All of us, every single one, not a single one has come through unscathed. We have also experienced overriding that, finding the pony, allowing something to surprise us and make us laugh, make us smile, make us shake our heads. So I'm going to remember that, write it down. One of my favorite pictures that Carol commented on today. Carol's on vacation in someplace warm. We're very happy for her. Really, we are. No, really we are. See how happy I look? So Carol is someplace warm. And one of the favorite images that we share among many things is the image of a pickup truck pulling another pickup truck that's clearly disabled and it's on a flatbed. But somehow, out of nowhere, a stove has fallen out of the sky and landed on the disabled truck. And so what you see is truck, stove. And the caption is suddenly an oven. Because you think, what was that? You get out of the car, you get out of the truck, you walk back, You know what you didn't expect? An oven. So when she sent her picture from paradise, one of her friends was holding a small animal, and her caption was, "Suddenly a monkey." If we are overwhelmed, if we are completely inundated, if we are completely obsessed by something, we lose our objectivity. We lose our ability to actually be present, to be fully here, living, as opposed to eking out an existence. When we are afraid, we're not thinking. We're unable to listen in the layers of assessment to the things that are coming at us. We just automatically respond. And those aren't sensible decisions all the time. What we need is objectivity. What we need is agency, which is personal ownership. And how we get there is by finding the tools, knowing where we left them, having practiced knowing how to use them so that we can simply retrieve them when they matter. And that's one of the reasons that I'm here. That's one of the reasons for Pivotry in Motion. That is one of the reasons for the unforgettables. I have lived my entire life getting good at this. I am gooder at this than most people on their best day. And I didn't become adept because it was a walk in the park. I became adept because it was the only way to get out alive with everything intact. A very talented and insightful therapist friend of mine, she's my client, not the other way around, said to me, "Do you realize that if you had followed their recipe for survival, their navigation tools, it would have been fatal?" And I said, "Yes." How lucky am I that I had no navigation tools? How lucky am I that I was left without their direction? As lucky as it gets. What do I know from surviving that? What do I know from every pick up and move and start again? What do I know from what on earth that I have managed my way through? I know where the tools are. I know how they're used. And over time, I have created helpful, simple hacks that teach everyone how to do it. I don't give you the step by step and then you must do this and you must do that. I tell you how I do it and I tell you why it works and I tell you what you need. Do you need this particular folder? Well, as soon as I can figure out how I can send them out to people, yes, you can have this particular folder. But everybody's capable of getting a piece of paper and a weapon of mass construction. And after they've written on it, put it in their purse or their pocket or up their sleeve or in their sock. Everybody can do this. And what does it teach us? It teaches us to draw limits, to draw heart-shaped lines in the sand and say, I will love you from afar. Right now, a little busy, gotta go. That's what this teaches. It teaches us to know what our negative and our positive triggers are. It is, anyone who has done one of these fan conventions knows that the immediate 3 hours before the fan convention opens is awful. Basically, the perfect word. It's awful. Why do we do it? We do it because in anticipation, recognizing how awesome it's going to be as soon as we pass. As soon as we pass awful and pull over, get out, lock the car, yep, awesome is here. And when we have been through and somebody comes along and does a simple, simple thing that makes us grin all over the outside and all the way through, what you have there is a small, happy sigh. And that small, happy sigh, that ridiculous laugh, at some inane thing overrides all of that. I did a character in a one woman show many years ago, and she's a Brit, and she says, "I once thought I'd like to be a stand-up comedian. See the way I look at it, I could take things the rest of the world shakes their fists at, and I could squeeze it down and render it small so it had no power at all. Yeah, but then I watched some of the women, and it was pathetic the way they took out their sad, sordid little stories and their lives and begged us to find it funny for them." And I had a lot of people in the audience going, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "I'm not begging anybody to find what I'm doing funny. I'm showing everybody how it works for me by illustrating roughly on a scale of 1 to 10, how dumb is it to be upset about something that stupid?" And everybody laughs. Everybody goes, "Ah, you're right." So my hacks: Pivotry in motion. A pivot is an abrupt shift. Pivotry is the mindset reset it takes to make the turn, to make the adjustment, to say, what the hell is that? Pivotry is rethinking, reassessing, and setting our sights on the win. We all know how to do it. We're born doing it. We practice it every day of our lives. The difference between many of thee and people like me is that I know where I keep those different facets of my personality. I know how to go get them because I've done it every day of my life. People who travel a lot, whether because they must or because they can, people who are in sales and deal with people and different personalities all the time, people who have to tap dance to stay one step ahead of what's going on, they automatically know where their pivotry triggers are. They automatically know how to go get them. When they come and spend time with me, they're getting pats on the back and validation. Some of them are getting new tools they didn't realize they could use. The real clients, the depth of the work that I'm doing is for people who don't know. People who are hanging on to a story that everybody told through their family down through time that simply doesn't fit. Everyone in our family is right-handed. Hello? Does that make me feel less? Well, no, no. But it does for a lot of people. The origin story is incorrect. It's our story by the time it gets to us, therefore we have permission to rewrite it because it's our story. I help people do that. I help people see, get distance, breathe, laugh, and say, best time ever. And then go back, re-energized, to deal with all the stuff that we're dealing with. When I listen to somebody say something in outraged indignation about these people shouldn't do this and these people shouldn't do that, and I'm thinking to myself, do you know you have soup on your tie? Should I mention it? Life is simple. People complicated. I'm not saying that there isn't tragedy. I'm not saying there isn't sorrow. I'm not saying there isn't pain and reasonable reasons to fear. What I am saying is we have the ability to find plans B and C. We have the skill to override. All we need is the knowledge, the practice, and the certainty that we have people on our side. And that's why we're all here. So today, it is the 4th of March. For those of you already on the other side of the earth, sorry I'm late. Let us march forth together, shall we? Let us figure out where where we keep and how to retrieve our simple, happy sigh. Okay? And if you're struggling, you know where to find me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for coming. Thank you for telling your friends. Thank you for bringing your friends. I'll be back on Thursday. I got something cool to tell you then. In the meantime, you know the drill, right? Be good to you. You deserve it. Remember to hug your loved ones. What they put up with you, they deserve a hug. Okay? And I will catch you next time.